God's chosen ones. Beloved chosen one, heaven has pressed pause on everything around you to deliver this message. This moment is not ordinary. You are not hearing this by chance. You are not scrolling by coincidence. No, this is divine interruption. This is God stepping into your atmosphere, commanding your attention, whispering through the winds of time. Listen now, before the window closes. You've felt it, haven't you? The unrest in your spirit, the sense that something bigger is calling you, that you're standing in the eye of a storm motionless, while everything around you shifts. That is not anxiety. That is not confusion. That is spiritual awakening, trying to break through the static of your life. God is summoning His chosen one. You are not like the rest. You've always felt it. You've always sensed that you didn't belong in the systems of this world. You tried to blend in, to fit the mold, to silence the ache in your soul. But the ache only grew. That ache is your calling, knocking. It's the cry of purpose you've silenced for too long. And now, heaven will allow the silence no longer. This is your final call. Heaven has paused everything. Right now, your scroll, your thoughts, your plans. God has paused it all to tell you something that cannot wait. The window is closing. Do you understand what that means? Chosen one. A window, once open, invites air, light, and possibility. But a window does not stay open forever. There comes a moment when it shuts. And when it does, those who hesitated outside are locked out, not because they were unloved, but because they delayed. You are standing at that window now. One step forward, and destiny floods in. One step back, and darkness reclaims what was meant to be conquered. Listen to me. Your destiny is urgent. The time to delay is over. Stop second-guessing your calling. Stop assuming there's more time. You do not have time to play small anymore. You are not allowed to pretend you're ordinary. You are a marked one, a forerunner, a gatekeeper, a chain breaker. God is sounding the trumpet, and the angels are watching to see your response. Type, "I will not delay" in the comments right now. Declare it. Don't just watch this, speak back to it. Activate your obedience with action. Heaven sees you. You've endured too much to walk away now. All the pain, all the waiting, all the warfare. It was never random. It was training. It was refining. It was preparation for this. Don't let comfort lure you back into compromise. Don't let familiarity convince you that your season has not shifted. It has. Right now, as this word hits your spirit, you're being called into divine position. Some of you have been feeling unsettled lately. Old desires no longer satisfy. Old routines feel dry. People you once clicked with now feel foreign. That's not depression. That's not burnout. That is spiritual realignment. God is shaking everything not rooted in Him, so that only what's unshakable remains. And you, chosen one, were created to be unshakable. But if you do not move now, if you do not respond in this moment, the window will begin to shut. This is not to scare you, it is to awaken you. Conviction is not condemnation. It's compassion. God is giving you a final call, not because He's angry, but because He loves you too much to let you sleep through your purpose. Comment, "I hear you." Lord, if this is your confirmation, don't hold back. And listen, share this. Someone you love needs this word. Someone in your circle is about to miss their moment. You are the trumpet for their soul. Send it. Post it. Don't overthink it. You have no idea whose life hangs in the balance. You are not just consuming this word. You are becoming a carrier of it. And while you're here, subscribe to this channel. If this word is reaching you, it's not the only one. This well won't run dry. Stay connected. Stay under the flow of what heaven is pouring out. Click that subscribe button. Hit like. Share this message. And stay in the anointing zone. Because what's coming next will not just stir you, it will shift you. God is not looking for perfect vessels. He is looking for available ones. This is not about how holy you feel. It's about how obedient you're willing to be. The heavens are open, but only for a moment. Do not treat this like just another video. This is your burning bush moment. Remove your shoes. This is holy ground. Everything you've walked through has led to this intersection. Every tear, every battle, every closed door, it has all conspired to bring you here. Now, not tomorrow. Now, and here's what I know. You are going to make it. You are going to step through this window. But only if you respond. Only if you shake off the dust of delay. Only if you say, yes. So say it. Say yes in the comments. Say yes by sharing this. Say yes by subscribing now. Say yes by liking this video so more chosen ones can find it. Don't wait until you feel ready. Readiness is a lie the enemy uses to paralyze the obedient. You are not called to be ready. You are called to be willing. Heaven has paused everything to see what you'll do. This is your final call. You were born with divine fire. From your very first breath, the spirit realm recognized what others could not see. Heaven marked you, and hell noticed. You did not come into this world casually. The cry you released in that delivery room was not just natural, it was spiritual. It was the sound of a warrior entering the battlefield. A sound that made angels lean in. A sound that made darkness tremble. The enemy has known from the beginning who you were. That's why the attacks started early. That's why confusion, rejection, and loneliness followed you like shadows before you even had words to explain them. It wasn't because you were weak, it was because you were threatening. The very atmosphere around you has always shifted when you entered the room, even before you understood your authority. You have been misunderstood, not because you are broken, but because you are divine. You carry an anointing that cannot be explained in human language. People sensed something different, but they couldn't name it. Teachers, friends, even family couldn't quite grasp why you didn't fit their molds. They tried to label it rebellious, strange, too intense, too emotional. But those were the labels the world used for what only the Spirit could define. Called, set apart, chosen. You are fire, not the destructive kind, but the refining kind, the kind that purifies, the kind that prepares the way, the kind that ignites others. But here's the secret hell hoped you'd never discover. Your fire can't be extinguished, only hidden. And that hiding season, it's ending. You've tried to be normal. You've tried to shrink. You've tried to extinguish your own flame to keep others comfortable. But that flame won't go out. It burns in the middle of the night. It stirs you during quiet moments. It whispers that you were made for more. That's not your imagination. That's your destiny calling. Do you know what you really are? You are a divine interruption, a heavenly inconvenience to darkness. You don't just carry light, you are light. And when you walk into places dominated by fear, heaviness, and despair, They begin to crumble, not because of who you are in the flesh, but because of who you are in the spirit. That's why the resistance has been relentless. The attacks weren't random, they were surgical. The enemy studied your patterns. He's seen the blueprints written over your life. And his greatest fear is not your past, it's your awakening. Because a sleeping warrior is manageable, but an awakened chosen one, that's a nightmare to the pit of hell. And now, you're waking up. You're starting to remember, starting to reclaim, starting to return to the fire that was always yours. The embers never died, they just waited. And now the wind of God is blowing on those coals. Your fire is about to blaze again, hotter than it ever has. You're stepping into the furnace not to burn, but to reveal what was forged in the fire. Every time you survived what should have killed you, your fire grew. Every time you held on to faith in the dark, your fire brightened. Every time you kept praying, worshipping, hoping, while carrying silent pain, your fire expanded beyond your own reach. You have walked through valleys, not because you were lost, but because you were leading others out, leading by example, proving that fire doesn't destroy what is holy, it reveals it. This is why isolation followed you, because God had to protect your flame from those who would try to smother it. He kept you hidden not to punish you, but to preserve you. He was letting your oil thicken, your root deepen, your spark intensify. So when the time came, and chosen one, the time has come you would emerge, not as a flicker, but as a wildfire. You are being called back to the fire of your first love, back to the purity, back to the power, back to the vision that once stirred your spirit before the world dulled it with distractions and doubt. And you will burn again, with purpose, with holiness, with clarity. Not everyone will understand, not everyone will applaud, but you didn't come to be understood. You came to set things ablaze, to turn dead religion into living fire, to turn passive hearts into burning altars. You are not a follower of flames. You are the spark that starts them. This is why you can't go back. This is why compromise now tastes like ash. Because once you've encountered holy fire, no counterfeit flame will ever satisfy. You are awakening, chosen one. And with your awakening comes alignment. Heaven is aligning people, places, and paths to your assignment. You won't have to beg. You won't have to chase. The fire will draw what belongs to you, and it will expose what doesn't. So fan the flame. Refuse to dim down. Refuse to retreat. Refuse to forget who you are. You were born with divine fire. The resistance you faced is proof. Every battle, every betrayal, every tear you cried in silence. They were not signs of your failure, they were confirmations of your calling. The attacks weren't against your weakness, they were assaults on your potential. The enemy never fights what isn't a threat. He saw something on you even when you didn't. And that's why the war intensified when you tried to rise. Look back for a moment. Not to dwell, but to recognize, see the pattern. Every time you stepped toward obedience, a storm showed up. Every time you got closer to alignment, something or someone tried to pull you back. Why? Because your very yes in the spirit realm releases consequences in the natural, because you're carrying something dangerous to darkness. The reason you felt pressure on every side is not because you're cursed. It's because you're carrying glory. And that glory offends every demonic system set up to keep people bound. You were sent here to shake things up. That's why people rejected you. That's why relationships crumbled. That's why some doors slammed shut when you were most desperate for them to open. It wasn't punishment, it was protection. God saw what was trying to attach itself to your future, and He cut it off at the root. You didn't lose them. Heaven removed them. You have been tested in secret, pressed in private. You've faced accusations without defending yourself. You've kept quiet when you wanted to scream. And all of that, it built you. It refined you. It broke the version of you that would have compromised and gave birth to the one who will never bow again. The enemy hoped the pressure would break you, but it forged you. You are now carrying an authority that only comes through crushing, and hell knows it. This is why you can't keep second-guessing yourself. The proof is in the warfare. The resistance around you is the receipt that your calling is real. The shaking you've experienced is not the sign of failure, it's the sign of alignment. But there's something else. You have made it through things others did not survive. You've endured betrayal that should have made you bitter. You've lived through delays that should have made you quit. You've cried out, "God, where are you?" and still held on. Don't you see? That's the mark of the chosen. Chosen ones are not exempt from fire. They are refined by it. The heat is proof. The scars are proof. The silence of God was even proof, because He was testing whether you'd still seek Him when nothing made sense. And you did. God saw you trust Him in the drought. And now He will trust you with the rain. Your warfare was generational. You weren't just fighting for you. You were breaking curses tied to bloodlines. You were canceling agreements made by ancestors. You were turning spiritual tides that have been active for centuries. No wonder you've been tired. You've been doing heaven's work in earthly form. And that battle, it's not in vain. Heaven will honor it. Your breakthrough is not a matter of if, it's a matter of now. But you must stay awake. Do not allow weariness to lull you into compromise. Don't confuse exhaustion with defeat. You may be tired, but you are not finished. You may be stretched, but you are not broken. You are a weapon formed in the fire. And now it's time to strike. You have carried more than most, because you're called to do more than most. And even in your quiet obedience, you've disrupted demonic systems. You have no idea how many attacks failed because you prayed when no one knew. How many souls stayed alive because you obeyed a nudge? You think you're just surviving, but in the spirit, you're tearing down strongholds. So, hold your head high. Chosen one, your resistance is not rejection, it's recognition. Your pain is not punishment, it's preparation. And your warfare is not failure, it's firepower. Let this moment be your roar back into the heavens. Type 999 in the comments right now as a prophetic sign that what the enemy used to try to destroy you will be the very thing that launches you. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are God's response to generational darkness. You are heaven's answer to earthly bondage. You are proof that even after all the crushing, the oil still flows. So let the enemy tremble. Let every demon remember why they tried so hard to stop you. Let hell regret the day it didn't succeed, because now you know the truth. The resistance you've faced is not your burden, it's your badge. This is not coincidence. You did not stumble across this moment by luck. This is not just another message lost in your feed. This is divine orchestration, a celestial convergence, a whisper from eternity breaking through the noise of now. Heaven has aligned your ears, your timing, your atmosphere for this precise intersection. This is not random. This is divine strategy. You've questioned it before, haven't you? The moments that seemed too precise to be chance. the patterns that repeated until they couldn't be ignored, the dreams, the confirmations, the scriptures that found you, the people who showed up, then vanished, yet left fingerprints on your spirit. That wasn't the universe being quirky. That was God communicating in codes only the chosen recognize. You're hearing this now because you're ready. Not perfect, not fully confident, but ready. Ready in spirit. Ready in identity. Ready to remember what your soul has always known. That your life is part of something so much greater than 9-to-5s and survival cycles. God has been drawing you sometimes gently, sometimes violently out of the fog, out of distractions, out of false versions of yourself. He's been removing props so you could finally see the stage He built just for you. This message is not the beginning of your story. It's the confirmation of everything He's been whispering for years. This is not coincidence. You see, the kingdom of darkness thrives on the illusion of accident. It wants you to believe you're just existing, that your wounds were senseless, that your suffering was wasted, that your hunger for more is wishful thinking. But deep in your spirit, you've known better. That hunger is heaven's fingerprint. That longing is prophecy in seed form. The enemy has tried to numb you to this moment. Through routine, through sin, through distraction, through despair. Because the moment you stop scrolling and start awakening, every lie loses power. Every chain begins to weaken. Every false identity begins to crack. And this is that moment. God is moving in subtle thunder. A holy interruption that doesn't shake your world through chaos, but through clarity. You're not crazy. You're not overthinking. You are hearing something beyond the surface. You are being drawn by a sound that doesn't play on speakers, a sound that echoes in your soul. The signs have been multiplying. You've been waking up at odd hours, not by accident, but by invitation. You've felt a shift in conversations, in relationships, in routines, not because you're unstable, but because God is deconstructing what's outdated. You've noticed patterns repeat, numbers, names, scriptures appearing again and again. God has been weaving breadcrumbs through your day-to-day, waiting for you to stop long enough to connect them. And now that you have, now that you're still enough to hear, you're discovering what hell hoped you'd never realize. This is not just a message, it's a mirror to who you really are beneath the layers of fear, failure, and fatigue. A mirror to the warrior that's been buried under self-doubt and silence. A mirror to the calling you once sensed, once dreamed about, then buried when life grew loud. And now it's time to uncover, to see it clearly, to remember, to rise. Everything is by design. Even the detours, even the delays, even the places where you cried out, why? Those places are now becoming your altar. What once mocked you as wasted time will become the very proof of divine timing. Do you know what's most dangerous about a chosen one? Not their talent, not their strength, but their awareness. The moment they awaken to who they are, the game shifts. The moment they stop calling it coincidence and start calling it confirmation, all of heaven mobilizes around them. That's what's happening to you. You're not who you were a year ago, not even who you were last week. There's been a quiet shift in your spirit, a holy alertness, a readiness to go deeper, to live louder, to shed the skin of passivity. You are no longer content to just exist. You are starting to burn, not with anger, but with awareness, not with fear, but with fire. And when God awakens the chosen, He doesn't just change their location, He reclaims their vision. He sharpens their discernment. He amplifies their voice. And He reminds them, you were never created to wander in confusion. You were created to walk in revelation. So take this moment, not as coincidence, but as covenant. The heavens are reminding you, you are not random. You are not disposable. You are not replaceable. You are divine strategy in human skin. A miracle in motion. A living, breathing manifestation of God's plan. And right now, the call is not to run, not to perform, not to strive, but to awaken, to see clearly, to step boldly, to stop questioning the path and start moving your feet. This is not coincidence. It never was. Mercy is running out. This is the part that no one wants to hear, but your spirit already knows. Grace has a rhythm, and the rhythm is shifting. The window of mercy you've been living under wide, patient, extended, it's beginning to narrow. Not because God doesn't love you, but because He does. Love doesn't enable delay. Love draws lines. Love calls you higher. And heaven is declaring, now is the moment. Move before the window closes. There is a sobering truth few dare to whisper. You cannot stay in the in-between forever. You cannot live suspended between calling and compromise, between obedience and convenience. There comes a moment, this moment, when heaven stops pleading and starts positioning. And if you're not aligned when the wind moves, you'll miss what was meant for you. God has been patient, exceptionally patient. He has covered your delay, protected you even when you flirted with rebellion, whispered to you while you slept, blocked doors that would have taken you far from your destiny. And still, you hesitated. Still, you questioned. Still, you waited for the right time. Beloved, this is the right time. The only time. You are not being scolded. You are being warned. There is a difference. Warnings are not punishments. They are invitations. But invitations have expiration dates. And yours is approaching. Not because God is cruel, but because He will not let you destroy what He built with your delay. You keep thinking you have time, that you can keep putting off the nudges, that you can revisit your calling when life settles down. But listen, life is never going to settle. The warfare you're facing now, it's not random Ks, it's a countdown, a ticking spiritual clock reminding you, move, now, or risk forfeiting what was written for you. Hebrews 10:26 says it clearly. If we deliberately keep on sinning after we have received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left. That's not metaphor, that's reality. God does not play with rebellion, masquerading as hesitation. Your delay is disobedience in disguise. And at some point, mercy steps back and judgment steps forward. This is not to scare you, it's to save you. Your window is not just closing, it's counted. Every time you scroll past a confirmation, heaven records it. Every time you hear truth and remain idle, your spirit hardens. Until one day, the voice that once pierced your soul becomes background noise. That's the danger. Not that God will stop speaking, but that you will stop hearing. And when you no longer hear, you no longer move. And when you no longer move, you no longer matter to the mission. You become stuck, not because God failed, but because you froze in fear while calling it waiting on confirmation. Let me be clear. This is your confirmation. You've asked for a sign. This is it. You've asked for clarity. Here it is. The mercy that has shielded your disobedience is now shifting into a demand for obedience. God is requiring fruit, not feelings, not potential, not intention. Flout. And here's the part your soul must grasp. If you do not step through this window, it will not stay open for you. This is not a threat. It's spiritual law. When heaven calls and is ignored, it does not wait forever. It finds another. You are not the only vessel. You are not irreplaceable. You are chosen. Yes, but chosen does not mean guaranteed. Saul was chosen too, and he lost it all. But you still have time. Barely. The fact that you're still reading, still breathing, still feeling that holy tension, that is grace. That is God saying, move now, obey now, return now. And if you will respond, truly respond, not with emotion, but with action, everything will shift. Don't mistake the quiet for absence. Heaven is watching. The angels assigned to your life are waiting. This is not a rehearsal. This is your moment. So do not let this word fall to the floor. Do not procrastinate your obedience. Do not assume the call will come again. It might not. This is your final call. And if this word has pierced you, if your spirit knows this is truth, don't let it fade. Stay connected. Stay under the stream of words meant to wake you up, pull you out, call you forward. Subscribe now to this channel and let every future message be another brick in the altar of your obedience. Don't wander alone in silence when God is still speaking here. This stream is not just content. It is confirmation. It is correction. It is covenant. Subscribe. Not for me, for you. For your calling. For your life. For your eternal legacy. Because mercy is still whispering, but the whisper is getting quieter. Move while you still hear it. You are the last key. Yes, you. Not someone more qualified. Not someone more holy. Not someone louder, richer, or more put together. You. You are the final piece in a divine puzzle. A living access point. A walking portal for heaven's plans. And what you unlock with your obedience cannot be opened by anyone else. There are doors in the spirit realm heavy, ancient, sealed since generations past, waiting for the sound of your yes. Not your perfection, not your resume, just your yes. And until you release it, destiny remain dormant. Lives remain bound. Chains remain unbroken. You are not just chosen for you. You are chosen for them. There are people you haven't met yet whose freedom is tied to your decision. Faces you don't even know. Praying right now for a breakthrough, and you are the one anointed to bring it. This is not exaggeration. This is heavenly architecture. God weaves destinies like thread, and you are a needle He refuses to replace. That's why the warfare has felt personal. Because it is. The enemy isn't just after you. He's after everyone assigned to your assignment. If he can keep you delayed, he can keep them defeated. If he can keep you distracted, he can keep them bound. The attack is proof of what you carry, and you carry keys, spiritual keys, prophetic keys, generational keys, the kind that unlock not just moments, but movements. You weren't born to fit in, you were born to free. Think of it. How many lives would be different if you stopped shrinking? How many hearts would heal if you spoke what God gave you? How many spiritual doors would open if you simply obeyed? This isn't about platform. It's about permission. God gave you divine access that others are waiting to walk through. but no one else has the key. They're standing at doors, praying for a miracle. And the miracle is you waking up. You, the one who feels unqualified. You, the one still fighting self-doubt. You, the one who's convinced it's too late. It's not too late. It's just in time. There are promises suspended in the atmosphere over your life. Prophecies that haven't been cancelled. They've been waiting for alignment, waiting for activation, waiting for you to say, God, I'll do it anyway, even if I'm afraid, even if I'm alone, even if I don't understand, because faith isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper of surrender, a quiet, trembling yes that shakes the gates of hell. And here's what the enemy doesn't want you to realize. When you finally move, nothing can stop the chain reaction. When you obey, even trembling, something erupts in the spirit. Heaven moves, angels are released, strongholds start to quake. Why? Because you carry keys. Don't throw them away. Don't bury them in insecurity. Don't forfeit them for a moment of comfort. You were chosen to unlock something that cannot be faked, manufactured, or replaced. God didn't pick you because you're flawless. He picked you because you're willing to be the hinge that swings the gate open for others. The last key always carries weight. It feels heavier, lonelier, more intense. But that weight is not a burden. It's a sign. It's proof that what you're about to open matters. You've asked God to move. You've asked for change. But He's asking you to move first. You are the catalyst. You are the access point. You are the last key. So what will you do with it? Will you leave the door shut, waiting for a version of yourself that doesn't exist? Or will you trust that the version standing here right now with all your flaws and fears is still enough to turn the lock? Type it below. I am the key. Just that. Let your spirit speak. Let your fingers declare. Let your doubt be silenced by prophetic truth. No more waiting. No more delay. Say it. I am the key. Hell fears your awakening, not your talent. Not your knowledge, not your gifts, but your awakening. Because once a chosen one wakes up, the illusions crumble, the fear loses grip, the lies unravel, and the power that was always in you begins to surface undeniable, unshakable, unstoppable. The reason the attacks have intensified is because the veil has begun to lift. You're starting to see, not with your physical eyes, but with your spirit. You've begun to recognize the patterns, to discern what once deceived you, to sense when something is off, even if everyone else calls it normal. That is awakening. And awakening terrifies hell. Because as long as you remain asleep, sedated by entertainment, distracted by survival, numbed by busyness, you pose no real threat. You're spiritually neutral, present, but passive, alive, but dormant. And that's exactly what darkness wants. A powerful vessel who never taps into the reason they were made. But now, something has shifted. You've started asking dangerous questions. Questions like, why am I really here? What if there's more? What if I've been trained to ignore the voice that's trying to save me? And in those questions, the chains start to rattle. You've noticed the tension in your spirit, the irritation with shallow things, the inability to laugh at what you used to tolerate. That's not you being overly sensitive. That's you shedding false skins. The old you is dying, and hell is panicking. Because the version of you that's waking up That version can't be manipulated, can't be bribed with likes, comfort, or applause. That version begins to move with purpose. That version stops begging and starts declaring. That version knows who they are and who they belong to, and that identity breaks atmospheres. You've been targeted, not because you're weak, but because your light was leaking through the cracks even when you tried to dim it. Even in confusion, your presence disrupted darkness. You've walked into rooms and changed the energy without saying a word. That's not charisma. That's kingdom. Hell doesn't fear those who sing loud or speak well. It fears those who know who they are, who carry the authority of alignment, who no longer flinch when rejected or fold when resisted. Those who stand rooted, even when misunderstood. You are becoming one of them. Every spiritual battle you've faced lately has been a distraction, a desperate attempt to keep you spiritually blind. The enemy's greatest fear is not your destruction. It's your discovery. That you'll wake up one morning and realize you've been royalty this whole time. That your lineage is divine. That your scars are altars. And your pain is prophecy. Because once you awaken, you begin to walk differently. You stop asking permission to be who you are. You stop apologizing for your fire. You stop playing small to keep people comfortable. You stop compromising just to be included. And when you stop doing those things, the weight of heaven begins to descend on your life in a way you can't fake. Power flows through purity. Authority follows awakening. And suddenly, you are not just surviving, you are shaking everything around you. This is why your sleep has been disrupted. This is why the enemy brought back old temptations. This is why your emotions have been unstable, because something deep in your spirit has begun to resurrect. And darkness knows it doesn't have long. The clock is ticking. The alarm is ringing. And you're rising. Do not mistake spiritual warfare for spiritual failure. They are not the same. If anything, the battle means you're on the brink. The closer you get to break through, the louder the storm. Not because you're weak, but because you're near the gate. And what's behind that gate? Legacy, impact, territory. You were born for this war, not to be consumed by it, but to conquer in it. The enemy cannot destroy a chosen one. He can only distract them, delay them, discourage them until they surrender their post. But you're not surrendering. Not this time. You've lost too much, endured too much, seen too much. You're no longer gullible. You're no longer spiritually naive. And that makes you dangerous. So don't be surprised when opposition comes. Don't be shaken by resistance. It's not because you're off track, it's because you're right on target. Awakening always invites attack, but it also unlocks access. You are entering that realm now. You're seeing clearer, standing taller, walking straighter, and hell is trembling, because a chosen one, awake, is a kingdom in motion. Chosen doesn't mean comfortable. You were not selected by heaven to live an easy life. You were not set apart to blend in. You were not marked by the Spirit to lounge in mediocrity, pacified by comfort and numbed by routine. No, your selection came with a cross. Your calling came with fire. Your assignment came with opposition, because your purpose comes with weight. There is a lie that many have believed, that if you're truly called, life should be smooth. That divine favor should mean doors fly open, relationships thrive, and everything works in your favor. But the truth is, far more sacred favor does not always feel like favor. Sometimes, it feels like isolation, like the silence of God, like carrying burdens no one else can see. To be chosen is to be crushed. Not because God wants to hurt you, but because He's shaping you into a vessel that can carry glory without leaking it. Glory cannot rest on ego. Authority cannot flow through entitlement. That's why your journey has been harder, because your weight is heavier. The path of the chosen one is narrow. Others can live half awake and still function. You can't. Others can ignore conviction and carry on. You can't. The things they brush off haunt you. The compromises they accept grieve your spirit. That's not because you're weak. That's because you're wired for holiness. God wired your conscience tighter. He placed a compass in your soul that won't let you wander too far without being pulled back. You felt it when you tried to blend in, when you tried to lower your standard, when you tried to silence the voice inside that whispered, "This is not who you are." Because chosen doesn't mean comfortable. It means called out of the crowd, out of culture, out of the system, out of the illusion that peace can be found in the approval of others. Your peace is not in popularity. It's in proximity to Him, to purpose, to purity. You've been misunderstood. People assumed you were arrogant when really you were just awake. They said you were too intense, too sensitive, too spiritual, when in truth, your discernment was disrupting the atmosphere they were comfortable in. You carry something that makes compromise uncomfortable. That's why some people quietly distance themselves. Not because you did something wrong, but because your presence confronted what they wanted to avoid. That's what it means to be chosen. It means your presence exposes what others have learned to hide. It means you'll often walk alone, not because you're unloved, but because few are willing to pay the price of the path you walk. It means you'll wrestle in silence while others sleep in ignorance. It means carrying burdens others can't even sense, because you were entrusted with weight that was never meant to crush you, but to awaken you. There is a holiness rising in you, a longing for more than surface-level Christianity, a craving for the real, the raw, the deep. You don't want hype. You want heaven. You don't want noise. You want presence. And that hunger is your proof. You're not broken. You're breaking through. And yes, the cost is high, but the reward is holy. Not in applause, not in comfort, but in clarity, in knowing you are where you're supposed to be, doing what you were born to do. That's what the world cannot counterfeit. That's what no relationship, no job, no platform can give you. That sense that you are aligned, that you are pleasing God, even if no one else understands. So don't run from the discomfort. Don't despise the solitude. Don't curse the road that's felt lonely. It's the sacred path of the set apart. And if it feels like no one gets it, take heart. You're not here to be understood. You're here to carry something others are too distracted to even recognize. You are not too much. You are just enough for what you've been assigned. You are not overthinking. You are discerning. You are not behind. You are in hiding until the time of revealing. Chosen doesn't mean easy. It means essential. And essential things are guarded, protected, refined, prepared. You are being prepared for something that will cost you everything, but it will be worth it. Because when the moment comes, and the mantle drops, and the doors open, and the fire falls, you will know. You'll know that every lonely night, every painful pruning, every step of obedience that felt like a loss was, in truth, an investment in glory. And you, chosen one, are the carrier. There's a shift in the spirit. You felt it, though you couldn't quite put it into words. A pressure in the atmosphere, a weight in your chest, a sense that time is bending, that something unseen is moving, rearranging, accelerating. You're not imagining it, you're discerning it. There has been a holy disturbance in the spirit realm, and your spirit, though tired, though wounded, is responding. This is not ordinary transition. This is not just a new season. This is a spiritual turning point, a divine pivot that cannot be delayed. Something has shifted. The clock has moved. The heavens have marked this moment as a line in the sand. Everything now is under examination. Motives, relationships, habits, alignments. Nothing hidden will remain concealed, because the fire of God is not just cleansing, it's revealing. It's exposing what's dead and summoning what's divine. And you, chosen one, are being summoned. This isn't hype. This is holy tension. A spiritual vibration in your bones that says, get ready. Align quickly. Heaven is not waiting. The countdown is no longer just prophetic, it's personal. You can feel it, can't you? That deep unrest, that urge to shift, purge, and prepare. That urgency that says, I can't keep living like this. That's the voice of your spirit answering heaven's call. You are not the same as you were even a few weeks ago. There is something fresh stirring, a new hunger, a new clarity, a new standard. And with it comes agitation, because the old wineskin cannot carry the new oil. God is not just upgrading your promise. He's requiring a deeper surrender. That's why distractions have intensified. That's why old temptations have resurfaced. That's why your emotions have been unstable. It's not failure, it's friction. Your flesh and spirit are wrestling for control, because the realm you're entering will not tolerate spiritual laziness. This is a shift that demands decisions. You cannot carry old habits into new territory. You cannot carry wounded identities into prophetic positions. You cannot carry spiritual apathy into apostolic authority. This shift requires you to cut loose, to trim excess, to silence noise, to fast from comfort. You are being called into a realm that demands focus, precision, purity. The invitation is extended, but the preparation is on you. And here's what few understand. Not every door is opened by favor. Some are only accessed by fire. Some breakthroughs don't come by waiting, but by wrestling. And you, chosen one, are in that wrestling right now. Wrestling your will, wrestling your fears, wrestling your old self that wants to stay comfortable while your spirit cries out for consecration. This shift is not about being better. It's about becoming who you already are in the eyes of heaven. It's about collapsing the distance between your current reality and your eternal identity. The Spirit of God is pulling you up, not because you're failing, but because you're finally ready. Ready to stand, ready to speak, ready to walk in rooms as light, not as a guest, but as a gate. And yes, it's uncomfortable. The stretching, the refining, the pressure. But pressure is proof that something is forming. Pressure is proof that purpose is maturing. The oil you're being prepared to carry can't come from someone else's anointing. It must come from your crushing, but you're almost there. You're closer than you think. And this shift will not pass over you if you stay alert. Don't let the shaking make you numb. Don't let the warfare seduce you into sleep. Lean in, lock in, press in. Because what's coming next is glory. Glory that cannot be bought. Glory that cannot be mimicked. Glory that will follow your yes. So let the old break. Let the idols fall. Let the dead weight drop. Let the shift complete its work. And if your spirit agrees, if everything in you says this is the moment, write it down. Declare it in the comments. I feel the shift. Nothing more. Just that. Let the atmosphere respond. You're being called higher. This is not about elevation in status, it's about ascension in spirit. God is calling you up, away from the noise, away from the distractions, away from the valley where you've dwelled too long. The whisper in your soul that's been growing louder, that's heaven urging you to rise. Not later, not next season. Now. You've gotten too comfortable on the spiritual middle ground, too used to surviving in cycles, too conditioned to tolerate delay. But you were not born to stay in the valley. You were not created to live in hesitation. You were made to climb higher in revelation, deeper in intimacy, sharper in discernment, heavier in glory. And with this call comes a choice. Stay and repeat, or rise and become. The mountaintop isn't crowded. Chosen one. That's why so few make it there. Because climbing costs you. It costs your convenience. It costs your distractions. It costs your opinions. But what you gain in return is everything. Clarity, authority, presence. The mountain has always represented divine encounter. Think of Moses. Think of Elijah. Think of Jesus himself. The highest moments of divine revelation happen in high places. And high places require intentional steps. You don't stumble upward. You ascend by decision. God is not calling you to be louder, He's calling you to be cleaner. He's calling you to let go of what cannot survive the climb. Some habits, they die here. Some relationships, they can't breathe up there. Some mindsets, they will suffocate under that altitude of glory. That's why everything feels so intense right now. Because heaven is applying pressure to provoke separation, not because He's cruel, because He's elevating. He's trimming what won't carry. He's shedding what won't serve. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Look around. You've already begun to feel it. Things that once fed you now feel stale. Conversations that used to entertain you now feel hollow. Places you used to go now feel spiritually unsafe. That's not random. That's elevation. That's your soul recognizing, I was made for more. This is not emotional hype. This is a prophetic warning. The mountain moment is here. And if you delay, if you hesitate, you will not have the strength to climb when the cloud lifts. You are not being called just to survive the storm. You are being called to rise above it, to meet God in the cleft of the rock, to receive strategy, to carry fire, to return, glowing with the evidence of encounter. But it starts with movement. You've circled this mountain long enough. You've prayed about it, talked about it, fasted, and still waited. But the season of waiting is over. The command is clear. Come up here. This climb is personal. No one can make it for you. No one can carry your bags. No one can give you shortcuts. It's you, your surrender, your steps, your sacrifice. But here's what few understand. The higher you go, the clearer you hear. The noise fades, the confusion lifts, and what once felt chaotic becomes crystal. You stop questioning if you're called, and you start walking like you're chosen. Don't be deceived by the valley's comfort. That false peace is seduction. The enemy wants you entertained, not engaged, relaxed, not refined, but you're not like the rest. You can't settle for partial obedience. Your spirit won't let you. Every time you tried to go back to comfort, you felt the grief, the weight, the disconnect, because you don't belong there anymore. You are a climber now. You're called to stand in places others fear, to hear what others ignore, to declare what others water down. You're not here to blend. You're here to blaze. So go up, even if you're scared, even if you're alone, even if you don't know what's at the top. Go anyway, because he's waiting, and he only meets those who obey the summons. Heaven has no obligation to speak to what won't move. The cloud is lifting. You can feel it. Don't get left behind in the valley of indecision. And if this resonates, if your heart is burning as these words hit, don't keep it to yourself. Share this message right now. Someone in your circle is stuck in the valley and needs a lifeline. Someone close to you is being lulled to sleep by comfort and needs this holy interruption. Be the messenger. Be the confirmation. Be the friend that helps them see. The mountain is calling, and like this message, if it struck your spirit, let it ripple. Let it reach the ones who've forgotten their fire. Subscribe to the channel. Stay close to the voice that's calling you higher. You weren't meant to climb alone. These messages will keep your spirit aligned. They'll remind you of your altitude when the world tries to pull you down. You're not just hearing a word. You're hearing a summons. The mountain is calling. Answer it. Don't trade your crown. Not for attention. Not for approval. Not for comfort. Not for anything this world offers in exchange for your obedience. You are carrying something eternal, sacred, royal. A crown forged not from gold and jewels, but from surrender, fire, and faithfulness. And right now, in the unseen realm, the enemy is placing offers before you, some obvious, some subtle, all aimed at getting you to drop what heaven has placed on your life. You don't always see it as temptation. Sometimes it looks like an opportunity, a connection, a moment to compromise just a little, a shortcut. But every offer that asks you to move without peace is a setup. Every offer that asks you to mute your discernment is bait. And the bait is always wrapped in urgency because the enemy knows your crown carries time-sensitive authority. You've come too far. You've suffered too much. You've sacrificed in silence. You've wept in private. And now you're standing on sacred ground, holding the very thing you were anointed to carry. Don't trade it. Don't trade your crown for a moment of validation. Don't hand it over for temporary pleasure. Don't lay it down just to be liked. Don't hide it just to stay included. You weren't crowned by people. You were crowned by the one who saw your endurance, your prayers when no one heard, your obedience when no one watched. That crown was not handed to you cheaply. It was pressed into your spirit through warfare, pressed into your heart through surrender, pressed into your soul through every yes that cost you something. There's a spirit of Esau loose in this generation. It whispers, trade your birthright for a bowl of comfort. Trade your inheritance for now. But you are not Esau. You are not that desperate. You are not that unaware. You've seen the price of obedience, and you've decided, I'm not giving this up for anything. And yet, the enemy tries. He'll send counterfeit relationships that flatter your ego but dull your discernment. He'll offer platforms that elevate your image but kill your intimacy. He'll tempt you with shortcuts that get you there faster but strip you of the very oil you need to remain. You must discern this moment. The crown is not just a symbol of calling. It's a weight. It's a responsibility. You've been anointed to carry something that others are watching, even if they never say it. You are influencing more than you know. Every decision you make is a ripple. When you stand firm, others find courage. When you compromise, others fall. This is not to burden you. This is to awaken you. You are not free to move like everyone else. You are not free to post like everyone else. You are not free to date, connect, speak, respond like everyone else. Why? Because you are not everyone else. You are crowned. And with the crown comes consecration. Consecration means limitation, but only for a season. It feels like restriction now, but it leads to reign. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Your crown is still being formed. And if you wear it too soon or abandon it too easily, you will forfeit the authority that was meant to flow through you. So check your heart. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to that's too cheap for my calling? What have I elevated that's not worthy of my crown? Where have I tried to fit in when I was born to stand apart? Because the greatest threat to a crowned chosen one is not warfare. It's compromise. Quiet, slow, subtle compromise that erodes conviction until one day you wake up with influence but no anointing, followers but no fire, applause but no oil. But that will not be your story, because you are remembering, you are recalibrating, you are recommitting. The weight you feel right now is not shame. It's the Spirit reminding you, this is who you really are. A royal priesthood, a spiritual warrior, a crowned vessel. You didn't fight through that fire just to throw your crown at the feet of convenience. Hold the line. Keep your standard. Guard your anointing. You are too important to cave now. Too anointed to blend in. Too chosen to sell out. So rise. Stand tall. Adjust your posture. Straighten your back. Lift your head. Your crown is still on. Heaven has not revoked it. The call is still active. And you, despite all the warfare, all the wrestling, are still worthy to wear it. Don't trade your crown. Your delay is costing you, not in theory, not in metaphor, in real, measurable, spiritual consequence. Every moment you hesitate, every time you tell yourself, maybe later, there is a cost, not just to you but to everything and everyone. Your obedience is connected to. You are not living in isolation. Your choices echo through generations. Heaven has a blueprint, and your name is written on specific assignments, specific breakthroughs, specific regions of influence, specific lives that are meant to intersect with your obedience. But when you delay, the timing shifts. What should be flowing gets dammed up. What should be unlocked remains sealed. And the longer you wait, the higher the cost. You feel the frustration, don't you? That sense of internal stagnation, that nagging unrest. You think you're just in a dry season, but really, you're in delayed movement. The ache in your spirit isn't confusion, it's conviction. It's heaven urging you, move now, before delay becomes disobedience. God has already spoken. You've already received the word, the sign, the confirmation. But every time you pause, reconsider, reanalyze, you open the door for doubt to rewrite what destiny already declared. And while you wait, darkness advances. While you stay silent, lies gain ground. While you postpone, the enemy positions himself in places you were meant to occupy. This is not fear. This is fact. The spiritual realm does not pause for your comfort. time moves. Realms shift. And when you stall, territory is forfeited, not because God revoked it, but because you refuse to step into it. It's not just about open doors, it's about timed doors. Some doors don't stay open forever. They're only unlocked at specific moments, and your delay may cause you to arrive too late. Yes, grace is real. Yes, mercy is abundant. But timing is sacred, and your window is narrowing. Do not confuse patience with passivity. Patience is waiting when God says, wait. Passivity is staying still when God says, move. And He has said, move. Move out of the addiction. Move out of the toxic connection. Move out of the complacency. Move out of the overthinking that's kept you spiritually paralyzed. Every day you delay, you lose ground. And worse, you risk becoming numb. Numb to conviction. Numb to urgency. Numb to the holy tension that once stirred you to tears. Numbness is the devil's anesthesia. If he can't kill your calling, he'll try to sedate it. But heaven is calling you out of sedation, calling you out of delay. Not because it's angry, but because it knows what's at stake. You are not just delaying your next level, you are delaying the freedom of others. There are people in bondage waiting on your breakthrough. There are family members battling demons you were anointed to destroy. Every moment you stay stuck, their chains remain intact. Do you really want to reach the end of your life and realize your delay kept others bound? Do you really want to meet God and hear what could have been done if you had moved when He first whispered? This is not condemnation. This is mercy, trying one last time to shake you. To say, you are behind. Catch up. Move now. The cost of delay is real, and so is the reward of obedience. You're one decision away from shift. One yes away from momentum. One step away from alignment. You don't need more signs. You need surrender. And if your spirit knows this is for you, type 777 in the comments. Not for superstition, for submission. As a sign that you're choosing divine completion over continual delay, let your fingers say what your mouth hasn't. Let your soul testify. I'm done hesitating. 777. Heaven is watching. You've waited long enough. Now is the moment. You carry breakthrough DNA. It's not just in your gifting, it's in your spirit. In your bloodline. In the unseen places of your soul, where heaven planted blueprints before you ever took your first breath. You weren't born to fit systems. You were born to shatter them. You weren't raised to inherit someone else's pattern. You were raised to break it. That's why your life has felt different. That's why you've carried pressure you didn't understand. You were never fighting just your own battles. You were born with battles assigned to your bloodline, and heaven trusted you to be the final one. The end of curses. The beginning of covenant. You are the interruption. The spiritual resistance you've endured didn't start with you, but it must end with you. And it will, because you carry what others didn't. You carry the surrender they resisted, the obedience they postponed, the fire they feared. It's in you, not by accident, by assignment. You are not just healing from wounds, you're establishing altars. You're not just surviving trauma, you're extracting oil. You're not just climbing out, you're building ladders for others to follow. That's why your warfare has been so generational, so deep, so exhausting, because the enemy knows if you ever realize who you are, you'll break open realms your ancestors only dreamed about. You'll walk in what they prayed for. You'll build what they never saw. You'll reverse what they thought was permanent. That's why isolation clung to you, because pioneers often walk alone. That's why your name has been under fire, because breakthrough always starts with the targeted one. You carry breakthrough DNA. It shows up in how you feel things others ignore, in how your heart breaks when God's presence lifts, in how you can't stay in compromise for long, it tastes like ash in your mouth, in how you crave the real, even when it costs you comfort. Your DNA doesn't let you quit, even when you try. Something calls you back, a voice, a pressure, a nudge in your chest. That's not guilt. That's divine wiring. Your spirit was encoded with fire, not the kind that flickers when life gets hard, but the kind that refuses to be put out, no matter the storm. You're not just sensitive, you're spiritually equipped. You're not just different, you're divinely designed. The things that made you feel out of place are the very things that confirm your position. The ache in your soul for purity, that's not religious, it's prophetic. The way your heart convicts you deeply, that's not weakness, it's authority. You're not being dramatic when you say, I can't live like this anymore. You're responding to the war inside you. The war between legacy and laziness, between purpose and passivity, between who you were raised to be and who you're anointed to become. And your anointing is not normal. You're not just here to impact a few people. You're here to displace strongholds, to shake systems, to rewrite atmospheres. And you do it not by shouting, but by showing up as who you really are. When you walk in alignment, hell can't hold what you step into. When you speak in obedience, chains don't just crack, they shatter. This is why the enemy hit you so early, so young. He saw the blueprint, he saw the potential, and he thought, if I can confuse their identity, I can contain their authority. But the devil underestimated something. He underestimated your bounce back. He underestimated your resilience. He underestimated the God who refused to let you drown. Because even after all the attacks, here you are, scarred, yes, but awake, wounded, yes, but moving, tired, yes, but still carrying keys. You carry breakthrough, and now is the time to release it. Not through striving, but through alignment, through surrender, through stepping into rooms you thought you didn't belong in, through breaking silence when it would be easier to blend in, through obeying the whisper when the crowd is loud. That's how breakthrough begins. Not with noise, but with yes. You've said yes in secret. Now you'll see fruit in public. Because what's in your DNA cannot stay hidden forever. What was encoded by heaven must manifest on earth. And it will, through your hands, your voice, your prayers, your obedience. It's already begun. You are a walking revival, a walking confirmation, a walking threat. You carry breakthrough DNA. There is no backup plan. You are not a placeholder. You are not one of many options. You are the plan. You are the vessel. You are the one chosen, refined, equipped. The assignment tied to your name has not been duplicated, not been transferred, not been rerouted. Heaven is not recruiting replacements. You are the blueprint. When God formed you, He didn't design a contingency. He wrote your role into the fabric of time with such precision that if you abandon it, something goes unfulfilled. This is not pressure, it's purpose. It's holy responsibility. You were not born randomly. You were born on time with a divine delivery in your spirit. The call on your life is not transferable. It's not optional. It's not negotiable. You may have convinced yourself others could do it better, that you're too flawed, too late, too tired. But what you don't realize is that what you see as weakness, heaven sees as authenticity. And what you disqualify in yourself, God sees as evidence. The evidence that your breakthrough was not self-made, it was spirit-birthed. The enemy's strategy has always been the same: make you believe you're replaceable, that if you don't obey, God will simply find someone else. But the truth is more sobering. Yes, God's plan will go forward, but your part, your impact, your inheritance, your portion may be lost if you keep walking away. There's no other you. No one carries your exact perspective. No one walks with your exact fire. No one can speak with your exact voice. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs your authentic obedience. Your obedience activates a realm others can't access. Your surrender breaks chains others can't even see. This is why hell has tried so hard to convince you you're not needed. Why it whispers lies of inadequacy. Why it shows you everyone else's success, hoping you'll sit out your own assignment. Because the one thing the kingdom of darkness cannot afford is you waking up. When you move in purpose, territory is reclaimed. When you speak in alignment, lies lose power. When you walk into a room fully aware of your identity, every principality that once ruled that space begins to tremble. You are not just one voice. You are God's answer to a specific crisis on the earth. You are the strategy. There is no backup. You've been feeling that restlessness in your spirit, not because you're confused, but because you're being called up. God is not waiting on your perfection. He's waiting on your permission. He's not looking for you to get it all together. He's waiting for you to step into what was always yours. But know this, there is an urgency to this revelation, because while you are irreplaceable in your assignment, you are also accountable to it. You don't get to delay endlessly. You don't get to sideline yourself forever while the people assigned to your obedience remain in bondage. Every not yet comes with a cost, and sometimes it's a cost paid by those around you. You've prayed for clarity. This is it. You've waited for a sign. This is it. You've asked for confirmation. This is it. And now that you know, what will you do with it? Will you keep hiding? Keep hesitating? Keep pretending your role doesn't matter? Or will you rise? Will you finally admit that you've been running from what you were born to carry? Because when you rise, others rise. When you stand, others awaken. When you obey, atmospheres respond. This is not hype. This is holy reality. And you're standing in the center of it. Don't scroll past this moment. Don't let it be another stirring you forget tomorrow. Let this be the shift, the stake in the ground, the decision that heaven will mark as the moment the chosen one stepped into alignment. Like this message, if your spirit feels it, share it with someone who needs to wake up to their divine design. Comment something simple: I choose my calling. And above all, subscribe to this channel. Stay connected to the flow of fire that keeps your spirit alive. Stay aligned. Stay lit. Stay sharp. You are not a backup. You are the blueprint. And heaven is still waiting on your yes. A line is being drawn, not in politics, not in culture, in the spirit. A clear, unshakable divide between those who know who they are and those who still pretend. Between those who say yes with their mouth and those who say yes with their life. Between those who are merely inspired and those who are truly transformed. There is no more middle, no more fence to sit on. The time of vague Christianity, half obedience, and casual conviction is over. Heaven is calling for distinction, for clarity, for evidence. The chosen ones are being summoned to step fully into their identity, not in theory, not in emotion, but in action. You've felt the pull, haven't you? The weight on your chest, the stirring in your sleep, the way you can no longer enjoy what you used to tolerate. That's not confusion, that's clarity arriving. The Spirit is separating the wheat from the chaff, not just around you, but within you. He's dividing who you've been from, who you're becoming. And the dividing line, it runs through your decisions. It's not about church attendance. It's not about emotional highs. It's about what you choose when no one is watching. What you speak when the crowd is gone. Who you serve when it's inconvenient. Who you trust when nothing makes sense. You're crossing a threshold, the point of no return, a holy barrier in the Spirit where once you step over, you can't go back. Not because God won't love you, but because your eyes will be too open, your heart too awakened, your ears too trained to ever unhear the truth. And yes, it costs something. It costs the version of you that's still craving comfort. It costs the social mask that helped you fit in. It costs the illusion that you can carry the weight of destiny without laying down the weight of self. But what you receive in return is incorruptible. Peace that doesn't shake in storms. Vision that doesn't blur when life gets loud. Fire that doesn't flicker when rejection comes. This is why the line matters. Because the line defines who stays behind and who moves forward. It exposes who just wants the appearance of calling and who is ready to pay the cost of being chosen. And make no mistake, the cost is real. You will lose things on this side of the line. Opportunities, relationships, old identities. But none of it compares to the weight of walking in full alignment. The glory that falls on the surrendered heart outweighs every loss. The line is also protection. It keeps you from returning to places that almost destroyed you. It keeps you from playing with fire that once burned your spirit to ash. God doesn't draw lines to limit you. He draws them to secure you, to establish you, to elevate you. You've been living on the edge of the line long enough. You've been dipping your toes in calling, then running back to comfort. You've been speaking about surrender, while secretly reserving pieces of your life just in case. But there is no just in case in destiny. There is only yes and no. There is no almost, no maybe, no middle. God is drawing a line. Right now, in your heart, in your decision, in your habits. And you are standing at it. This is the moment where heaven leans in and watches not what you say, but what you do. Because your next move is more than a step. It's a statement. A statement of where your allegiance truly lies. A statement of whether you're staying chained to cycles or stepping into the unknown. Trusting the one who called you. This isn't about feelings anymore. It's about faith. Will you cross the line? Will you leave behind the version of you that was trained by survival and become the version formed by fire? Will you stop playing small to protect your image and start living loud to fulfill your purpose? Will you finally become what the Spirit whispered to you years ago? Because that version of you, the one you see in flashes, the one you feel in worship, the one you dream about but haven't yet embodied, is on the other side of this line. And once you cross, you can't unsee, you can't unhear, you can't unfeel the weight of what you were made for. This is the transition from potential to purpose. This is the call to crucify comfort and rise in calling. This is not an invitation to improvement. It's a summons to transformation. So if this word drew that line in your spirit like this post, share it boldly. Someone else is standing at their line too. Comment just 4 words. I choose the line. And subscribe to this channel. Stay under the flow of clarity, truth, and purpose. Because this isn't just content, it's a divine call. The line is before you. Cross it. Your yes will ignite nations. This is bigger than you, bigger than your goals, your struggles, your environment. When heaven placed its hand on your life, it didn't do so for personal gratification, it did so for generational transformation. Your yes is not an echo, it's a spark, a divine ignition that can set spiritual fires across lands and people you've never met. You keep wondering why your life feels heavier than most, why the warfare seems relentless, why even small steps of obedience feel like they shake everything around you. It's because your obedience has range. You were never meant to impact just your circle. Your yes carries weight in the heavenly places and impact in earthly ones. You are not just a vessel, you are a signal. When you say yes to God, the atmosphere responds. Chains begin to shake in places you don't see. People begin to sense something changing. Rooms begin to shift, not because you're present physically, but because your yes has activated heavenly movements. God doesn't need numbers to shake nations. He needs one surrendered vessel. And you, whether you fully grasp it or not, are that vessel. The depth of your surrender will determine the breadth of your influence. This is why your process has been so intense. Not because God delights in pressure, but because He knows your yes must be pure. Not driven by fame, not tainted by selfish ambition, not moved by applause. It must be forged in fire. So when He sends you, your feet don't flinch. You are being trained not for stages but for nations, not for likes but for legacies, not for popularity but for power. Your yes is a doorway for revival, healing, deliverance. You don't have to preach to ignite people. You just have to live aligned. Your decisions, your lifestyle, your posture, it all speaks. And when it speaks with heaven's frequency, it unlocks others. There are nations, literal and spiritual, waiting on your yes. People bound by cycles, praying for breakthrough. And your name is tied to the answer. This is not metaphor. This is assignment. God doesn't send masses. He sends the marked, and you are marked. This is why the enemy tried so hard to silence you. Not because he feared your words, but because he feared your agreement with God. Because when a chosen one agrees with heaven, principalities tremble, agreements break, territories shift. That's what your yes carries. And yet, you still think you're too small, still battling the lie that your voice doesn't matter, that your obedience is too late, that someone else will do what you've delayed. But they won't, because what you carry was custom fit. Your fire, your tears, your testimony, your anointing. It's specific, tailored for impact, tailored for freedom, tailored to reach people others can't even see. You are not here to chase influence. You are here to trigger encounters, to provoke hunger, to disrupt darkness. And it starts not with a platform, but with a posture, the posture of surrender. Your yes, whispered in the secret place, causes ripple effects in the spirit. You may never fully grasp the reach of your obedience, but one day, in eternity, you'll see the maps, you'll see the names, the moments, the breakthroughs that were sparked because you said, "Yes, God," even when I was scared, even when I didn't feel ready, even when I was alone. Heaven doesn't measure your yes by volume, it measures it by weight. And your yes is heavy, because it's holy. You've been feeling it lately, that pull to say yes without conditions. That longing to stop negotiating with God and finally surrender. That is the Spirit, drawing you into global impact through local obedience. Your yes will not always look loud. It may begin in silence, in a decision to pray when no one else does, to worship when no one's watching, to obey when it hurts. But that yes, it's loaded with kingdom consequence. Don't underestimate what your surrender can unlock. Don't dismiss the anointing on your life just because it's still maturing. God is not waiting for you to be ready. He's waiting for you to be willing. Your yes will shape environments, transform families, stir nations. You are not insignificant. You are ignition. And your yes is the match, the final warning, the final invitation. There comes a moment in every story when silence ends, when delay is no longer an option, when heaven ceases whispering and begins moving. That moment is now. The air has shifted. The Spirit is no longer pleading, He is positioning. The gates are about to shut. And this word, this message, this interruption, it is your final summons. Not a summons to emotion, but to decision. You are standing between what has been and what must be. The version of you that wandered, survived, coped. That version cannot cross into what God is opening. There is no room for divided loyalty, no space for lingering hesitation. You have felt the weight building. This isn't just another transition. This is the final one. There will be no next time, no later confirmation, no extra sign. This is it. Heaven has sent too many confirmations already. You've heard the call in your dreams, in your thoughts, in your random moments of silence. You've been stirred by songs, by scriptures, by conversations that seemed too timely to be coincidence. And still you hesitated. But now, the ground beneath you is trembling. God is drawing a veil between the called and the complacent, and it will not be lifted again. Those who cross will burn with clarity. Those who delay will be turned over to the silence they chose. This is the mercy of God turning into justice, not because He changed, but because you chose. You can't claim ignorance anymore. You've heard too much, felt too much, known too much. This is not about fear. It's about finality. The door is open, but only for a moment. Just wide enough for the ones who are ready. Not perfect, not polished, just ready. Those who will say yes, even while shaking. Those who will run, even if limping. There is no room for pride here. No space for performance. Only surrender. The Spirit is doing something permanent, and you will either be found inside of it or left outside watching it move without you. That is the consequence of this moment. It is the last line, the final turn, and what you do with this is what heaven will remember. Your yes is not just about you, it's about eternal placement. The pages of your destiny have been waiting for ink. The pen is in your hand, but the time to write is now, or not at all. Every word you've read, every stir you've felt, every breath you've held during this series of divine disruptions, it has all led here. The door, still open, barely. And this is the last time you'll be called to it. Not because God stopped loving you, but because the season of invitation has ended, and the season of activation is beginning. Those who are not in place will miss it. Those who are not aligned will be bypassed, not from punishment, but from divine necessity. God is moving swiftly, strategically, and the ones he will use next are those who did not hesitate when called. The final warning is mercy's last breath. The final invitation is heaven's last hand stretched out. What you do now is everything. This is not a message. It's a moment, a turning, a crossing. You've reached the end, but this isn't over. This isn't just a script. This is your summons. A divine call written into your soul long before you were born. And now, line by line, moment by moment, heaven has revealed it to you. This was never about inspiration. It was about activation. You've seen the line. You've heard the call. You've felt the fire. Now, respond. Let this be the day your spiritual clock resets. Let this be the day heaven records. They didn't just hear, they moved. Don't just be stirred. Be changed. Let the ground under your feet feel the weight of your decision. You are chosen. You are anointed. You are needed now. And if this message broke something open in you, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, so others can find what you found. Share it, because someone in your life is standing at their own crossroads. Comment below, something simple. I say, yes, Lord. Just that. Let your fingers testify to what your heart already knows. And subscribe to this channel, not out of routine, but to stay aligned. This isn't just content. This is covenant. The Spirit of God will continue to speak here, to correct, refine, encourage, and equip you for the road ahead. You don't need another sign. You don't need another word. You need obedience. The awakening window is closing. You heard the final call. Now heaven is watching for the response. Will you move? Will you rise? Will you become? This is your moment. Chosen one. Step into it.